All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start the December 8th Community Development Committee meeting. Ms. Anita, let you start the roll call.
Yeah, roll call. We have Councilmember King,
Here.
Councilmember Moreno, Councilmember Morel, Councilmember Jeruso, Councilmember Harris.
All right.
We have two members. We do not have a quorum.
All right. Thank you. So we will not be voting on starting. We won't be voting on anything. We'll just jump right into our presentation. So we have the first item that we will discuss will be item number 3 is to address the homeless, unhoused issue in the city, not just District C, but we've getting a lot of calls and concerns about the growing issue throughout the city, and other parts of the city, and we don't want to put anybody in a bad light, but just want to give the public an idea of what can be done, what is being done, and moving forward, what's the best course of action to take, because it's getting to a point to where a lot of people are feeling like we're at a tipping point as the city goes. And hats off to Mr. Fields and Councilmember Harris, who have done a great job of trying to house as many people as they can. But it just seems like something is not getting done, and we're kind of just going in place. That's at times how it feels. So I have a short video presentation we'll show first, and then we'll ask that we have some people from businesses and residents come up to the front, and we'll ask to get your perspective from. So Ms. Holmes, Mr. Perry, you all can make your way. Mr. Wolf, make your way to the front, because you'll be the first people up once we show the video. And just real quick, this video is nothing that, these are all pictures and videos and emails sent to us from concerned citizens, concerned residents, whether it be French Quarter, Marigny, Bywater, Gentilly. These are all videos that we've seen sent to our office, along with some emails also sent to our office. Mr. Ravy, right on time, you can come up to the front desk. All right. So, do we have video on this? Audio? At the dais.
Stop, Holmes. Go ahead.
This is a video sent to us from some Marigny business residents. Broad daylight, you can see this issue. Hats off to Detective Bronson of the 8th District. Hats off to Detective Bronson of the 8th District, showing compassion, not just throwing people in jail, but you can see if you're a business owner, you're a resident, that's not the scene you want to see 2 o'clock in the afternoon in front of your business. And that's, I believe, is on Frenchman. Is that correct? Frenchman, that was on Frenchman, in the 500 block of Frenchman. The next video is one that I took myself leaving a French Quarter Market meeting. So we could get the volume up. So in the end, you hear the people say, make way, make way. So if you're a resident, if you're a business owner, if you're a visitor, it's kind of unfair to have to maneuver around this scene. This is around, it looks dark, but around 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night. I'm not sure this is a homeless group or the some transients, but you have alcohol readily available. This is on Decatur. This is a video that I took immediately following the French Quarter Market Corporation meeting. And to go back to the email, can we turn the video? I'm sorry. This is in the French Quarter. This is on Frenchman. Again, these are all broad daylight pictures. So these are what residents see in the daytime. That's what our children see. This is what visitors see when they visit the most visited area in our city. There's construction going on in the French Quarter. Spaces are already tight, and you have deliveries and construction crews having to work around the unhoused situation. And again, it's not to finger at anybody, but we need to address it and address it head on, because the city, we just can't keep going in this direction. Video somebody defecating on a sidewalk, broad daylight. I had a lady tell me that this is what her children had to see going to school in the morning. More of the same. As a result, you have the drug needles. This is now the picture in the video. It's not on public property. It's actually on private property. I'm not sure the neighborhood, but that's what someone has to wake up to and go home to. Somebody passed out on their front porch. Most visited neighborhood in the city. Let's be honest, without the French Quarter, there wouldn't be much of it in New Orleans. Again, I believe this is on Frenchman in the 500 block. This was taken at, I think maybe this was taken by me at Elysian Field in Claiborne, one of the most trafficked areas in District C at that intersection. And you'll hear from the property owner about how this issue in this particular corner is driving away business, and how that, if that business leaves, it'll be an abandoned building, which doesn't do good. It's not good for anybody. That's the picture right there. So that is it for the videos. Well, I think that's it for the videos. Is that it for the videos, Sam? Okay. Again, all of the pictures you've seen, except for two of them, was taken by residents and taken by business owners. And I feel like we can't continue to talk around this issue. We have to address it head on, especially moving forward with our new administration. I think it was time for a fresh start. We're dealing with this. Again, hats off to Mr. Fields, you'll hear from. I've been out with him. I've talked to Unity. They're doing what they can do, but somewhere we're missing the mark, and I'm not sure where it is. And this isn't a meeting to point the fingers, because look, homeless individuals are taken advantage of. There are people who are targeting them, whether it's for drugs, money, or sexual activity. So they are also victims of this. But we got to figure out what's the next step and how to attack this head on moving forward. So I'm glad we have our future CAO who can help address this issue, Mr. Jerusalem. So look, we're going to...
You found that person?
Huh?
You found that person?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's you. So we are going to have members of our community speak about this. We have representatives from the French Quarter, Marigny, Algiers, and from the Marigny business, from the business community to really explain to us what it is that you see on a daily basis. Different walks of life, different groups affected, but this has a devastating effect on everyone, the homeless themselves, our residents, our businesses, as well as our visitors. So we'll start with Ms. Holmes. Please introduce yourself and just give us your view on this from your vantage point.
Good morning. My name is Erin Holmes. I'm the Executive Director of the Vieux Carre Property Owners, Residents, and Associates, or VC-PORA, in the French Quarter. We are a neighborhood organization that also advocates for the French Quarter as a livable neighborhood. I can say from personal experience and also talking to a lot of our members that the situation with the unhoused has reached beyond a tipping point. We are seeing increased aggressive behaviors and mental illness and substance abuse, which goes into exacerbating mental illness. I think the French Quarter it's not unique in terms of additional unhoused individuals, but it is complicated because it is such a dense neighborhood and there are what could be considered resources available. In the French Quarter, there's an opportunity to find food, obviously, because we have so many restaurants, community as well, because people generally tend to group together. I can say that with regard to issues in the neighborhood, the mental illness and the substance abuse seems to be the biggest issue. My office is on North Rampart Street, which is not in the heart of the French Quarter, but it is on the perimeter. And I can say that I've seen a lot of behavior just on North Rampart Street. Vandalism. My office was actually not broken into, but my door was smashed while I was working there. We definitely hear what is going on, and we also see the individuals kind of sleeping when we're coming into the office and leaving at night. Talking to my residents, I think that there is definitely an understanding that something needs to be done, but we don't exactly know how to do it. It's very, very difficult to convince residents not to continuously call 911 and utilizing those resources, which are limited, and offering them additional services such as working with Nate Fields and the other organizations that are doing good work in the neighborhood and in the city. But frankly, if you're talking to a resident that can't leave their house or enter their home because somebody is blocking it and might be passed out or they're incredibly aggressive, it seems like NOPD is the only alternative there. So we are fortunate that we have the task force and the Supplemental Police Patrol Program. But these resources are finite, and in a climate of cut funding from all the way on up and down, I'm very concerned that we're not going to have the resources necessary to deal with the issue. So, of course, I can elaborate, but I'd like to cede some time to my neighbors here.
Thank you. We'll move to your neighbors next to you as well as across Esplanade, Mr. Perry, business owner in the Marigny, Mr. Perry Dulce. So introduce yourself and can you give us your opinions of what you've seen as a business owner, right, pretty much in the heart of the issue over there on Marigny, on Frenchman and Esplanade.
Thank you. My name is Perry Dolce. I own the property at 421 Frenchman Street, corner of Decatur. As Councilmember King pointed out in the video, some of which I had sent to him, my concerns are just mainly something that I don't know if it's really being talked about, is blighted property. The property across the street from me has been vacant for several years. The property behind me has been vacant for several years. I just videoed something from my security cameras last week of an individual accessing the property behind me. A couple of years ago, a fire was set by homeless people in that property. I had smoke intrusion into my building, which disrupted my tenant's business, the Louisiana Music Factory, for about 2 weeks. Other business owners in the neighborhood of Vieux Carre, a small brewery across the street from me, and Downtown Tattoo, they have, along with my tenant, expressed concerns about homeless people trying to get into their businesses to use their bathroom facilities and approaching their customers, which makes them feel uncomfortable. So it's put pressure on the business community in my immediate area. I want to again emphasize that I only see what goes on in my immediate neighborhood. So One thing that was mentioned to me at an NOPD meeting several weeks ago that I attended that I was unaware of is that a significant portion of the homeless population, I was told, is bussed in by surrounding parishes. I'm not sure if anything can be done about that, but it seems kind of unreasonable that Jefferson and Chalmette, St. Bernard parishes would be sending in their homeless people and dropping them off in Orleans. I would guess that that would exacerbate the problem too. That's really, other than what my colleague here had mentioned. I could go on about the obvious things that we all know about, but the addition of blight and if it is true, trying to get a handle on homeless that are coming in from other parishes. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of NOPD, Unity, and the Mayor's Department of Homelessness. I have seen them on the corner several times over the last 6 weeks. Councilmember King, you were kind enough to host a meeting in your facility, or your office, I should say, about 6 weeks ago, and there has been improvement. The challenge is, within hours after Unity, the Mayor's Homeless Office, and NOPD leaves, the homeless come back again. So without a plan for housing the homeless, mental health, drug addiction, I don't know where this is going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I comment? Excuse me, I don't have to say this. I'm not a member of the committee, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I want to address something that you said. You used the word busing, that they were bussed in. So somebody's going to be looking for a bus to come in. At the end of the day, what you say is absolutely true. I have spoken to people who are unhoused, who are from other areas, not just other parishes, well, not just the immediate parishes, but parishes throughout our state. Think about this, everyone. How is it that New Orleans has such an unhoused population, but that parishes around us don't have that population? They're not miracle workers. Their economy is not that much better that everyone is employed. You can talk to the people themselves, and they will tell you that they were told that there are no resources in other areas, so that they should come to New Orleans. I will have an opportunity to speak when Mr. Fields comes forward, and I want to thank him for his work. I want to thank the members of the New Orleans Police Department and the Office of Homeless Services and Strategies. But just this morning, for example, I was at a Walgreens at the corner of Gentilly and Louisa Street. And a guy who was sleeping on the street now has a tent. There's so many issues that we have to deal with. Maybe he bought the tent, or maybe somebody whose heart was in the right place bought him the tent and allowed him to be in the worst place that he can be, on the street tonight when it's cold, as opposed to in the Ozanam Inn, for example, which has beds. But the bottom line is that I'm going to speak when Mr. Fields speaks, but I want to make it clear. I'm asking the governor to get involved with the issue of people bringing to New Orleans, because we have the resources, we have the shelters, we have the food banks, we even have a needle distribution on Tuesdays across from City Hall. All of the resources that people ask us to provide, we provide, but we're not getting help. What we get is temporary help, such as $17 million for a homeless transition facility on the Industrial Canal, which has resulted in more people being in the area of the transition center, because that's where they were before they were put out after the Super Bowl left. At the end of the day, I'm just saying I absolutely confirm with you, if anybody wants to ask, that I have had conversations with people who are here, and they are being told to come here to New Orleans because we have facilities. That is unsustainable, and I appreciate Councilman King, you having this issue on the agenda. I look forward to speaking to Mr. Fields and thanking him for the work that he does, but we have to look at what is the solution long-term, and it has to involve the entire state of Louisiana.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. Next, we'll have Mr. Scott Wolf.
All right, thank you, everyone. My name's Scott Wolf, and I want to thank you, Councilman, for taking this issue seriously. And I can see that you are trying to come up with resolutions, to come up with ideas, and come up with something. And I really appreciate that. I'm sure everyone else does as well. So you're looking at an old man here. You're looking at somebody who's developed for 40 years here in New Orleans, and I've developed on nearly many major intersections throughout New Orleans. And I can tell you, in the 40 years, I've never encountered homelessness, mental illness, drug addiction encounters with any of our businesses like we have in the past 10 years. In the past 10 years, it's become very, very difficult to retain business. At this point in my career, I'm mostly a landlord, and finding tenants to stay in business is becoming so difficult that I have been selling real estate and exiting the city of New Orleans, and it's not because I want to, because my heart is a developer, and my heart is to it fulfills me to give birth to something that was not there before. But it is wearing, and I too don't have the answers for you. But I can tell you that the homelessness and the drug addiction, mental illness is dangerous for our tenants. We have national tenants as well as local tenants, and they all facing the same situation. Recently, in the last 2 years, we've had Family Dollar, as you know, along with the other big box stores who are leaving all major metropolitan cities. New Orleans is no different. And they have been closing stores in the major cities. And one of my locations was chartered to close. And it's only open, it's the one on Elysian Fields and Claiborne Avenue. And the only reason that it's open today is because I reached out to the leadership there and offered several things. One was I offered them a haircut on the rent, taking less revenue from the site to try to fulfill their profit loss from the grab and runs, from the theft to the homeless problem, and to the employees that they can't get to clean up outside where the needles are, and they just don't have to put up with the aggravation of running a difficult site. But not only did I take a haircut on the revenue, but I also was allowed, which is amazing, that a major corporation would allow a landlord to design the flow of their store to help with the shrinkage in the operation of their business, which is unheard of, where they let someone on the outside tell a major corporation how to run their business. But we did. They're still there today, but they're on the cuffs as well. And they did a short-term renewal so they could test this model and see if they want to stay or not. If that site were to pull out, it would be very difficult to find another tenant because there are no more regional players that are marching back into the city. So we have to find someone local to take that spot. And every time you go to show someone a site and there's people with tents and in front of doors and sleeping out and taking drugs, it's difficult to convince somebody to invest more money into a business and go spend all day working alongside that type of environments. Melba's Po' Boys is another site that I own across the street from the Family Dollar, and I can tell you I was there the other day, and even though I've sold that operation and actually sold that real estate, when I was there, through the glass windows where there are tourists and families eating, through the glass windows there are people right across the street at the Smoothie King, right in back of the Smoothie King, a couple that is living there with a tent, and they're shooting up while you're eating your po' boy. And you know, this is just untenable for any business to continue. No one wants to go there to see someone shooting up drugs when they're eating their sandwich. And at the end of the day, that's all these operators are trying to do is sell a sandwich. Occasionally we get some sweeps. Sometimes when there's sweeps through the French Quarter, it gets pushed out into the not the suburbs, but the other surrounding areas of the city, and we see a surge and we see it go down. We do see a softening in crime. For 40 years, crime has been our problem with retaining business and operating in a very harsh environment. But we have maneuvered through that. We've become sort of an expert at doing so. But the homelessness could be the thing that we cannot overcome.
Mr. Wolf, let me
Yes, sir.
pause you for a moment. And talked about your specific intersection. Now, this is a bit of a difficult situation because you installed or your tenant installed a bit of maybe like a siren, a high-pitched siren,
Yes, sir.
to make it uncomfortable for people to loiter in front of the business. It's a similar situation at the Walgreens on Felicity and St. Charles. They have a loud opera music playing. So you got this high-pitched siren, and it helps you or your tenant with the loitering, which reduces theft and which increases customer shopping in the area. but residents complain about it, rightfully so, because it's a loud noise throughout the night, throughout the day. So it's like, it's a catch-22. If you turn the noise off, the loitering, the drug use, the hanging out continues. You keep it on, the residents continue to complain about it. We can't have that. So thanks to Unity, and they came out there and they helped folks in that area. But the very next day, you had 10 people again in the parking lot at that picture on Claiborne and Legion Field. So it's a difficult situation. Again, we're not here to point the fingers at anyone. Being homeless is not a crime, but we have to address this collectively from all parts of it. So I just want to address that. Can you speak to the noise, to the
Certainly.
siren part?
Yes. Family Dollar is the tenant there, so they maintain legal control of the property. I'm the landlord, but it's their property. They could technically tell me that I could not come onto my own property if they wanted to. But Family Dollar, in their effort, and I guess they've experimented nationally with this low tone decibel signal that sends a beeping sound, and they have found some effectiveness with it that I guess aggravates people who hang out around the property. And so it's reduced some of their homelessness, but not all of it. They still have the homelessness problem. And of course, some of the neighbors were complaining about it. We had a meeting over at the site, and we said, what can we do? Family Dollar wanted to keep it because it was finding some effectiveness. But we were able to mitigate a little bit of it, and we got Family Dollar to lower the decibel of the tone. And we also got them to put a timer on it where it goes on at 8 in the morning, goes off at 10 at night for overnight use. And I think that thus far, it's only been a month, but I think thus far that they've been able to satisfy to some level the neighbors that were complaining. Family Dollar also spends about $150,000 per year on an armed guard for nighttime. That's an extra expense they don't have at other stores. We spend about $1,000 a week as a landlord with a company that contracts with us that cleans up the property daily. They clean it up, and 30 minutes later, it's trashed again, and it's all attributed to the homeless population in that area. So you can see the expense that a lot of people have gone through. I've even looked into other things. I've looked into those security cameras that you rent. That's got you've seen them. It's got the solar panels, and it's got the telephone cameras up at the top, and that's about a $3,000, $3,500 a month expense to put that in. I'm not sure that works. CVS has it across the street, and they got the same problem with that equipment. And I've even looked into sprinkler systems attached to our exterior camera system that when homeless go into areas of the property they're not supposed to be there, that a sprinkler would come on and spray them with water and make that area where it's unattractive to sleep and be and take drugs. And we haven't went that far, but we are looking into that. I mean, we search what all other people who have these problems nationally, what they're doing. We check Google. We come up with our own ideas. We're at wit's end, like you are. And but something does have to be done because, like you said, the French businesses are just going to close shop. It's just not worth it with the extra expense and the extra risk. At Melba's, 70 years ago, we had a homeless person drug overdose in the bathroom, carried out in a body bag. I mean, it was like, and I remember getting a call, 2 in the morning and watching this on camera, and I'm like, I hung up the phone, and I'm like, I'm just trying to sell sandwiches. Right.
Well,
so something needs to be done for everyone, not just for me.
Well, thank you. We'll move on. We heard from the business community and Ms. Holmes, who represents the French Quarter property owner and business community residents. So now I want to hear from Mr. Greg Raby, who works out of Algiers, and this is an area of the city that traditionally does not have a large homeless problem, but specifically where he operates a facility geared towards kids in the back of a church, no less. There is a large homeless problem. I'm not going to say just put it all on homeless, but a large drug, alcohol, hangout area. And it's something that kids have to see every day leaving and entering your facility. So can you speak about that a little bit, Mr. Raven?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, great morning, and thank you so much, Councilman, for having me. My name is Greg Ravy. I'm the founder and CEO of Heroes in New Orleans. We service youth and families out of Algiers and throughout the city. We've been at this location roughly about maybe 4 years now, and over the 4 years, I can say I've seen an increase in activities from the population on Herschel and West Bend area. When we initially moved to this location, it was a big facility. We can service more youth and families. Probably had like a chair out there with some guys talking at first, and then over the years, it grows. So these communities are pretty much being built like any other communities around the city. You start off with a few, and then it grows. And it's a, you know, when you think about it, be realistic from perspective of they got a liquor store around there, they have food around there, and then it's a high traffic area. And so over time, we just seen an increase in this area where activity is just growing and more people are hanging out. You're right, our kids have to pass this area every day, and it's hard to tell them, you know, they can be a doctor, a lawyer, passing up that kind of activity. And trash and, you know, dump sites, you know, as well, you know. And so, again, I'd like to thank yourself as well as Ford District. I seen Officer Kendrick a few times come in and clean up the area. And then, you know, it's right back the same way. But, again, I think that, you know, the community is just pretty much, you know, growing in that manner as it relates to the activity that's going on in that area. And, I mean, it's a tough situation to deal with because you got everything mixed in. From, you know, just, you know, alcohol, drugs, you have, you know, homelessness, and, you know, just sorting through all that stuff is, you know, I know it could be difficult. I'm sure they do have a solution. We know where it's at. You know, we know what's needed. We just laid out all the things that's happening. And so, you know, now I just believe we just have to match the resources and the action with the activity.
So thank you, Mr. Ray. But just to highlight where you are at the intersection of West Bend and Herschel or DeGaulle, there's 2 liquor stores. There's a racetrack that sells liquor. There's a store next to that racetrack that sells mainly just Cigarette Express, liquor
Yes.
and alcohol. So that definitely contributes to that problem. And again, it's not all homelessness. I believe you have people who are targeting the homeless with drugs, I left an event you have at the DA's office at 2 o'clock on a Saturday with some neighbors, some visitors from Boston. And when we left, this is 2 o'clock, we saw a lady in the middle of the Prostitution Act directly across the street from you, and another lady smoking out of a glass pipe. I'm not saying they were homeless, but all of that in that area just is at a point where whether you're a child or an adult, you shouldn't have to see.
Yeah.
And some residents have now called that area the Carter. So if you're familiar with the movie New Jack City, that's what that drug area was the Carter, and that's what that area of Algiers is being nicknamed by some residents, because that's how bad it is.
Yeah.
So we definitely need some help in that area.
Yeah, and one of my biggest concerns is that, you know, over the last few months, we have been seeing that activity move on our property and our location. So, like, I'll come to open up a center, and I can see where somebody been eating, or, you know, we see, like, condom wrappers and stuff like that on the property. So we had to start locking the front gate, the back gate. We put up a new front gate to make sure that the property is secure throughout the night. But it's nothing, again, you know, that can hold somebody out. You just walk around the gate. That's just to keep cars and stuff like that from back there. So, you know, we can see trash and, you know, where people kind of been hanging around the building. And so, you know, that's one of my biggest concerns, that it's starting to move on site and off the streets.
Well, I appreciate everyone. Any closing comments from our residents or business community? None, Ms. Holmes?
Thank you so much. I would like to add a little bit since I have the opportunity. Right now, we have a major construction project happening in the French Quarter. It's the Sewage and Water Board transmission line. It's impacting about 4 blocks of Decatur and a block and a half of St. Peter, right, and going into Royal. So these are heavily trafficked areas, and the impact to the businesses is it's indescribable right now, because not only are you having to navigate really narrow alleys and pathways to get to them. Oftentimes, they are populated by individuals that may be sleeping or sitting, and it's hard to get around them. And any additional resources that can be extended to those businesses and their workers would be really appreciated.
Thank you. We have Mr. Field. I see he's taking some notes, so we definitely try to help that area out. Thank you. Thank y'all. We would next have NOPD come up just to talk about what they've seen from a law enforcement perspective. And while they're clearing the desk, received an email from a gentleman in Gentilly. He had a strip mall, and he said that his resident is leaving the strip mall because of the loitering directly from the unhoused population. So that's one business that's now gone. We have a strip mall in Algiers with a national tenant who is trying to break their lease early. In this same area, Crunch Fitness, because of the unhoused, because of the criminal activity in that area. I'm not going to get and put it all on the unhoused. And Walgreens in Algiers. We don't have much in that area. There isn't much in that area, but that Walgreens is now threatening to leave because of the situation that they have, and they have now hired armed security to keep the parking lot clean and safe. And it's just an extra strain put on businesses that are already at a tipping point. So we're going to hear from the 8th and 5th District. I'll start it off with Captain Palumbo of the 8th District. If you can just, again, share with us what is it that you experienced from a law enforcement perspective.
So almost everything you saw falls under my purview, whether it's the Lower Marigny or the French Quarter itself. Let me start by saying we know and we preach to our officers that being homeless is not a crime, but that also doesn't give homeless people the right to commit crimes with impunity, and sometimes that message kind of gets blurred. When I initially got to the 8th District, I had some businesses complaining to me about homelessness and the people sleeping on the backside, and basically saying they were ready to close shop. We were able to work with our supplemental patrol as well as with IV Waste and start doing regular cleanings of the area to eliminate the problem. But I quickly learned that we eliminated the problem for them. All we did was fix the problem for that business and create a problem for another business. It wasn't until the summer when I started working with Nate and Office of Homeless on the Home for Good, when we actually started getting people off of the streets, out of the French Quarter sleeping, and into shelter. We saw a noticeable improvement. I heard it from people. It just wasn't sustainable for us. When we felt like we were able to move to another area, by the time we came back, there was a whole new set of homeless people. And that goes to the point that some of the public made. There's no doubt, and I think at times we're probably underestimating how many people are, and I won't necessarily say being bussed here, but are being either brought here or directed here. And it's a major problem. I fully believe we could take every homeless person off the street of the city, and in 3 months, it would be repopulated. I think that's how bad it is.
And that's the out-of-town influx of homeless people.
Yes, from all parishes. I've seen them as far as Lafayette within Louisiana, but then we see them from out of state as well, Mississippi and other areas along the Gulf Coast. But the difficulty and the frustration for us is even when I have more resources to deal with this than Captain Dupree or any other captain in the district does. There's times where even we get frustrated, where we have an individual that we know should not be on the street, cannot make rash decisions for themselves, right? And it's not only us saying that, it's psychiatrists coming out and meeting with them and saying the same thing and getting a PEC order and getting them into UMC. And within 2 days, a doctor at UMC is releasing them and putting them back on the street. It gets to a point like the public gets kind of frustrated with us at times, because sometimes we're the only one to call, but we get frustrated with it as well, where we're trying to get these people the help they need, and it's just not working. The mental health, the drug use, there's things that we've done, and we've tried to target those narcotics sellers, both around the library area, in the lower Marigny area, around the firehouse right there on Esplanade, and we've made good arrest on the narcotic seller. But once we take him to jail, there's just a new one popping up because the market remains, right? So as long as there's that market, somebody's gonna come to fulfill it. And unfortunately, a lot of times what we do, I just push my problem to Captain Dupree. And then Captain Dupree goes out and she pushes her problem back to me. And we're not trying to do that. We're trying to do what we can. It's just difficult for us with people sleeping on the sidewalk, right? We have obstruction of the sidewalk, but it's a summonable offense. If you're an individual that is either having mental incapacitation or drug incapacitation, a summons isn't really an effective tool, right? So we know we can't go out and arrest our way out of it. It's getting them the treatment, and like I said, working with Nate and his people has been great. It's honestly the only thing that I've seen work, but it's been for periods of time because of limits on everybody with resources.
So I want to just highlight, you said that the drug dealers come right back, just to show how the homeless population is being targeted by those to make money off of them. So once again, they're also victims in this.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, when we say that somebody doesn't, so there's one individual who I won't say the name, but I'm thinking of in my head, right? If he continues to be let out every time we try and get him committed, right? And they say he's not a threat to himself or others. I have to wonder if sleeping on a main thoroughfare of the city on the sidewalk every night, when at any time a vehicle accident could cause you to be run over, if you're making that decision to do that every day, I don't understand how that decision in itself, you're not a threat to yourself. And so sometimes I think we look at things differently. And so that person thinks they're fine, and they think they can make the decisions on their own, but the decisions they're making just don't make sense.
They're not helpful to them or the community.
They need the help.
Councilmember Jeruso.
Hey, good morning, y'all. So I'm obviously sitting here listening to everybody, and like many things, it feels like this is a coordination issue, and that everybody's trying to do their level best where they are, and people are just gonna have to do things in a different way. We have the Office of Homelessness who's involved with this, NOPD, obviously the people who live near there, the stakeholders. What other offices are engaged in this, so that way we can talk about some different coordination? Nate, yeah, absolutely. I'm just listening to this, and this is tricky, I will admit, because government isn't great when you have to rely on a number of different entities, and not everything should be in the hands of NOPD. And I miss unity, obviously, as well.
No, and Officer Kendrick, you want to come up at the desk? Please do.
So can I add one thing?
Absolutely.
Sanitation really needs to be involved in it,
Got
because every week we get sanitation out to Elysian Fields, clean it up, it's right back. So it's a coordinated effort to get sanitation out there to these locations also.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, so this is a portion, Nathaniel Fields, Office of Homeless Services and Strategies. This is a portion of the team that I work with. They're out there with us every single day doing the coordination, but we also have the health department, sanitation team, IV waste. We have mental health with MCIU. We also have MHSD, Metropolitan. There are more. This is only a piece of what we're actually working with. The problem is that when we start to lose resources, no matter how hard they work or any other team works, we can't continue doing the work. There was a point in time in the French Quarter where we were getting phone calls, oh my gosh, I actually see a change. As soon as that starts to take place, we start losing resources. On the back end, our funding got shut down. We could not go out and operate and get people through the shelters because we couldn't pay certain bills. So that put us at a standstill. Literally last week, we just got reactivated to start housing people again and going back into the French Quarter and Marigny areas to be able to help those individuals. The work with Captain Colombo and Captain Dupree never stopped. We were going to the naval base every single day in Crescent Park. We were going out every single day into the French Quarter and also on Frenchman Street. Every single email got answered with a person going out to the locations. The difference is that I can't get them a bed open because all of the persons are now bottlenecking at the shelter level because we have no resources to get them out. Now our resources got cut even further. So watch this. We got cut from HUD for rapid rehousing funding, permanent supportive housing funding. We just recently got cut by the city, and now we're going to get cut by FQMD. We can't cherry pick the plan in the parts that makes us feel comfortable. If we do so, we will not be able to create a continuous movement. We have a sustainability plan. It's a 30-page document that I spent the entire time of me being here creating with the entire community. Outreach, mental health clinicians, and persons with lived experience, those persons who are victims who are living homeless on the streets, and also those business partners who are also being affected. They all have say-so with this plan. When we cherry pick the plan and we can't fund the plan properly, we can't man the plan properly, everybody up here and every business that we're currently working with is affected. Every council member is affected. When those emails are coming in, I'm sending you emails saying, hey, I need assistance in this particular area. Let's sit down and talk because this problem can actually be avoided. I don't just send that to you. I'm also the person who goes out and see those areas. When I got the email from Councilman Green's office and talked about the Walgreens on the corner of Chef, I didn't wait for him to send me a text message, which I knew he was going to follow. I met him out there at the location. He looked up and saw me standing there walking out, talking to the individuals. The same with yourself, the same with Captain Jeruso. When those emails and text messages come to my phone, I take it personal. And the individuals that we serve, I make sure that they're met with housing. If we have those resources to go in the shelter, every single captain, every single officer who is at this desk has been able to take people to the front door when those resources are available. But if I can't stop the bottleneck at shelter, it stops them from being able to perform and get the outcomes that they're used to seeing.
So, Mr. Fields, you have done, and everyone has said this, done a great job, not just you, Unity, all of the services providers that you mentioned are doing a great job, but it just seems to be, and I know you mentioned lack of resources, but when I hear, and I ask Captain Dupree to elaborate, there are more people, or as many people coming in once you get those people housed. Is that not also making it more difficult to house people?
Absolutely. It's definitely making it harder, but while the spigot is still on, I can't stop emptying the bucket. You know, I have to continue to start dumping at the same time as working on the plumbing system so I can make sure that the leak stops. So we have to do a twofold process because they are definitely taking the blunt force of this. We cannot arrest our way out of the situation, but NOPD has been so effective we didn't have to. Out of all of the times that we've actually been having NOPD out, we've had one situation that resolved in handcuffs. The entire time of us doing this work since 2023. So with that one situation compared to all of the thousands of people that we have all helped get into housing and the sheltering process, I think that we do have a plan that works well. We don't have the resources to stop the consistent drip, and we don't have a way to be able to get our governor office to be able to partner with us in a way that we can get additional resources at this moment. We are working on it, but right now we just don't have it.
Well, you saw the video. Detective Bronson, without knowing he's being videoed, chose not to arrest anybody, spoke to everyone with respect, and the people move. But you mentioned the constant drip. So if let's not even say Louisiana, because you know our administration in Baton Rouge is not really a fan of this city. But when other unhoused individuals come in, that drip never stops. And that's nothing that you or anyone can do about it. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just pointing out causes that keeps the issue rolling. We was in NSA building about 2 weeks ago, and the few people that we encountered weren't from the city. So how do you continue to help those moving in and those from out the state, those from out the parish, and those who are born and raised here? How do you help all three when you only have so many resources?
Yes, so we prioritize by category. So for the individuals who actually are in Orleans Parish, what I was asking for in my budget, which got denied, was the fact that I was trying to get a diversion pot of money for persons from Orleans Parish so that they got issues with rent, back pay on electric bills, food insecurities, transportation, that we can help those things out. RTA already did that part. They gave us an extension with a CEA to allow us to actually get them to and from appointments, mental health, and doctors as needed. We also started to work with food pantries. We are a great relationship with a couple of different food pantry organizations and agencies through Ms. Lanika Hunter, who has done an amazing job being able to expand us so we can help people get food. The problem has been we don't have the diversion dollars to be able to keep people, especially mothers with children, that's our largest new growing population, from getting into and falling into homelessness, especially those who are native New Orleanians. The drip that's coming from out of our parish, that is something that we can continue to work with other parishes on. We understand that we might not have the best relationship with the governor's office, but we can build rapport with them and work well with them, and our relationship has been changing. I don't know on the political side how it's been going, but on our side with Homeless Services, we work well with the governor's office. We have been building rapport. We have been reaching out and making those contacts, and things have been changing. I work well with LSP and DOTD. We are trying to build up our relationship right now with LHC and with the health department. So those things are starting to change tremendously for us. The thing that isn't changing right now is the fact that we are not gaining resources. With the hit that just went through Unity, the hits that's coming to us financially in the beginning of the year, and the hits that's happened to us in the FQMD, if those things continue to go in that direction, we won't be able to recover. In January of 2026, we're gonna start seeing programs end. We do not have a resource to capture the individuals who are currently housed. We do not have a mechanism right now to be able to help New Orleanians to keep them into housing. We're coming into the beginning of the year, we're gonna start seeing droves of people fall into homelessness. And we have the ability to find some type of resources locally to be able to capture those individuals. If we don't, what we're seeing right now is the tip of the iceberg, but it can definitely get worse if we don't put something in place soon.
Thank you for that. Captain Dupree, can you speak to about once the issue leaves the Marigny French Quarter area and it makes its way to the Bywater, what do you see?
So, especially during Super Bowl, Mardi Gras, when, state police came in and cleaned up the homeless, a lot of them came to the 5th District. My crime rose as far as shopliftings and petty theft. The NSA building had about 60, 70 people housed there. Crescent Park also had numerous people with encampments there. We've had to go in several times, clean it up. And this Wednesday, if the act of sale goes through, we'll officially close down the NSA, and all those people, I think there's about 20 left.
Yes.
In there, will be homeless because we'll have to either arrest them or we'll see if we can get them in a facility. Nate's been great on helping us with that. The other issue is going to be they're going to be moving to Crescent Park. Crescent Park right now, I had a meeting with them Monday. Alderman, if they can take over, that might help us a lot. Right now, there's really no security over there, so people are setting up encampments underneath the wharf from Mandeville all the way to the Rainbow, the Rusty Rainbow Bridge. Getting a lot of complaints from neighbors in that area. We clean up St. Peter's, where we had a lot of drug addicts using needles. There was a program that came there. Every time we clean that up, they move again. They'll move to the Navy base, but as of Wednesday, they won't have a place to move, so it's probably going to be Crescent Park or into the neighborhoods. So that's my big issue in the 5th District. Every time we clean up the 8th, it always comes to the 5th.
All right, so what would be your response? What would you tell me, anybody, when we get a call about a homeless issue? What should the answer be?
I mean, every situation is going to be different. So there are some situations where we'll be able to get some relief. If an individual is willing to take services, all of the shelters aren't filled. We are getting close. but we will be able to maneuver individuals into shelter. Ms. Hunter and her team has been doing really good with getting people into locations when they're open to doing so. If a person becomes resistant, we then go with NOPD to the individuals and have those individuals to remove themselves from the location, still offering services and everything else, but they just can't stay at that location. What we were doing prior to running out of resources was zone maintenance. We were recently working in Zone 1 and Zone 2 simultaneously. Zone 1 became lax because of lack of resources. Zone 2, we started to pick up. We cleared the library location, and then we started to move towards other locations throughout the city. Resources cut us off. So then we started back over again, ramping those services back up, and that's why when we get the phone calls and the emails, especially to the 8th and the 5th, they react quickly because the zone maintenance strategy is still in place. The difference is that we just don't have the resources, but my team will still respond.
Okay.
And if we can't get an outcome, we'll definitely ask our partners at NOPD to assist us.
All right. If we can hear from Officer Kendrick, because as I mentioned earlier, it's not something that's really been an issue on the West Bank and Algiers, but we've seen an increase, and you've actually encountered people who were told to come to New Orleans from other jurisdictions. So can you, one, speak on the increase you've seen in the Algiers area, and two, about people who are being encouraged to come to the parish?
Yes, we had that, well, good morning, everyone. We had that issue a couple of months back where they came from the Edgar area, from Kenner, and it was advised to come here because they said we had the resources.
By who, do you know?
By their council people or whoever over their parishes. It was advised to come here because we have the resources and they don't. But I was advised, and I told them that y'all have the same resources that we have. So also we have maybe like 3 homeless people that was on West Bend and Herschel that I talked with, and I spoke with Miss Lanika about it. They came over, they talked to those people. Actually, one person, he said he would take the residence or whatever they was gonna apply for him. But when the services came, he refused. So I went back over there and I advised him that he could not stay there. We cleaned up that area numerous of times. Maybe like 6, 7 times we go over there and we clean that area up. As far as the drug dealers in that area, they have been arrested, but they come right back out. Or either once they're in, somebody else replaced them in that area.
So is this maybe a court issue? Are the same drug dealers coming right back out?
It's the same offenders. It's the same offenders.
Okay.
And far as the vagrants hanging around the Walgreens, we had a meeting with Walgreens.
Yeah.
And we advised them that, you know, that so long they clean the property up, we're gonna make the passes and advise people that they cannot loiter on this property, they cannot hang on this property. Because they're running away the customers, they're running away everyone. You was at the meeting, and we spoke with them about it, and now the officers passed and they advise people that they can't stand alongside that building or on that property.
All right. So one last quick question for you. Have you seen an increase, or how much of an increase, if any, have you seen in that Algiers community in the past 2 years?
Oh, it increased a lot from the past 2 years because we didn't have that problem, especially at the Herschel and West Bend area. Just had to hang it on the neutral ground, that was it.
That area is a scary place to be at.
Yes.
It looks bad. Okay. Officer Harrington, anything you want to add? You boots on the ground. If not, then.
Everything is, Doug said, from one point to the next. We run them on a daily basis. They'll probably come back later that evening.
All right.
So it's an ongoing deal.
All right. Well, I want to thank y'all. Any comments, Councilman Green?
Councilman, can I add? I also don't want to overlook, we talk about this as a nuisance problem, but in the 8th District, 40% of the perpetrators we have identified as committing our violent crime are homeless or unhoused people. So 40% of the violent crimes we have in the district for this year were committed by this population.
What is, and again, I'm just getting information for information purposes, not trying to cast anyone in a bad light. Exactly what would be considered violent crime?
So a violent crime is anything from a simple robbery, an aggravated assault, an aggravated battery, a shooting. Where that most is showing up is in our aggravated assaults and our aggravated batteries. So whether it's a stabbing, a pulling of a knife, a pulling of a gun, those are the crimes that we're seeing the elevation in. But it's also in our property crime. Last week, we had 6 burglaries in the 8th District. 2 residents, 2 business, and 2 simple. 5 of those were committed by
And what part of the 8th district?
the entire. So 2 weeks ago, we had an individual that was going around smashing windows on restaurant and other businesses in the DDD with a brick. We arrested him for 2 burglaries, as well as those crimes of just smashing windows with a brick. So I just want to make sure we see the whole scope of what we're dealing with. And Nate can maybe talk better to this, but I feel as the individuals that we're getting from other parishes are probably their most difficult cases, right? The people that are homeless in another parish that are able to get resources, they're not sending here. So the ones that are coming and the people we are seeing are more difficult cases, whether it be addiction or mental issues, and I am seeing a rise in that.
Can you put a number, as best as you can, on individuals from other parishes, from outside, whether other parish or other state, outside of Orleans Parish, in the 8th District?
So I will say, as of September 1st, we had a little over 200 that were occupying the shelters alone. So if 200 people were in shelter, you can extrapolate that out to,
200 outside parish people were in shelters.
yes.
Look, and I can add to that, we had a van come either last week or the week before, came from St. Bernard Parish with about 6 people in it, and they dumped them off at the NSA.
We've also seen individuals from Mississippi. I don't know if it's attributed to the new train line, but we have been seeing individuals from Mississippi here recently.
Councilman Green?
It's a very difficult discussion to have, but everything that you all said is everything that I've seen when I accompany the Office of Homeless Services and Strategies, sanitation, the police, and the various parties that go to all of these encampment cleanups. The vast majority of the people that I've spoken to are from other parishes. It's a hard discussion because I remember that Councilman King and I talked about publicly at a community development meeting or a quality of life meeting, just the issue of food dumping. And the council chamber was filled with people who were opposed to the fact that we were saying it's not a good idea to allow people to dump food and just walk away from it. That creates all the rats. But I don't see those people often enough. I don't see them at the encampment cleanings or the closings. I don't see them at the shelters volunteering. And I don't see them mentioning, other than the city is doing something wrong, the fact that this is a very, very difficult issue to overcome. Very difficult. I want to make it clear, and I'm going to be redundant sometimes because it helps. The vast majority of the people that I have spoken to at all the multiple encampment cleanups have been from other cities and other parishes as far away as the Gulf Coast. I'm just asking for there to be some reasonable discussion that involves not only the city, but the parishes and the state relative to identifying the resources. We talked about the Super Bowl. I was glad that the Super Bowl was a very safe, relatively safe occasion, especially after the terrorist incident of January the 1st. But it's important to recognize that the governor put money up through an emergency fund to create a transition center that lasted 3 months. Tell me if I'm wrong. Was it more than 3 months? It was 3 months.
3 months.
And of the people who were there, and I visited the center and I spoke to them, folks, they're not from New Orleans. They're not from New Orleans. Now, I don't mind being vilified for telling the reality, but your job is made tougher if we don't have assistance from the state. Mr. Fields, I'm willing to go to the state with you and ask for the money that is necessary to be able to solve this problem. But it's important to recognize that our homeless population is much larger than just the people who are on the streets. There's people in shelters, but there are options. So, Mr. Fields, I'm going to be very specific with you and ask you for assistance. The people who have invested in their businesses in the Gentilly at Louisa area, at Press Drive and Louisa too, deserve better. Walgreens owns a building that it has a potential tenant for, but the tenant has expressed concern because of what we see. And I asked the media to feel free to go there this morning and see the tents that have been created at a site that is visible to thousands of people who drive each way, to people who've invested significantly in their communities in the comeback. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but you've spoken to those folks.
Yes, when we actually, on Friday, I got 2 of them. Lanika had 4 of them last week. So we've gotten 6 people from the location, but we do have a person who is a bad actor. He's a drug dealer. I can't any other clear way. He's a drug dealer who's taking advantage of the individuals in the area. And since the closing of some facilities, they have migrated to the back of that Waffle House and Walgreen area, and we're trying to slowly but surely get them into a sheltering process, into a housing.
And with all of the struggles that we have in our city relative to black-owned businesses, we have a black-owned business that is talking of moving because they see when their customers park, people defecating in the parking lot. They see people doing acts that are not natural that you would be doing outside in the parking lot. And no matter how much criticism we get when we bring up the issue of what needs to be done, I'll say that something needs to be done. I'm asking you by Friday to give me a report on what is going to be done with the people who are at that location. And 3rd District officers are listening to me. There is someone there who needs to be moved. He can call himself homeless. He can call himself down on his luck, but he's not there because he lost a job. He's taking advantage of other people in that neighborhood, and that needs to stop. I'm asking you to give me a report. I'm asking you to have it cleared by Friday, or at least report to me what needs to be done so that I can then immediately go to the 3rd District and ask them to use the powers that the New Orleans Police Department has to get that individual off that site.
Absolutely.
It is privately owned. I want you to know that Walgreens has given permission to the city of New Orleans to do whatever is necessary to get their site clean, and I'm asking for it in behalf of the thousands of residents who pass each day and in behalf of the people who've invested in Gentilly Woods, Pontchartrain Park, Indian Village, Pontilly, and the like, that situation be resolved so that that site can be more attractive to investment.
Absolutely, and shout out to Catherine and Rachel from the Health Department.
Yes.
Dr. Vegno has extended them to us to do complex needs cases. Catherine and Rachel are very aware of the situation, and we'll make sure that we pull them in and have a conversation with them today. Ms. Hunter and I will sit down and talk to them and see how we can work around with that individual.
Right, and I do want to mention the Health Department too, because that was the one department that I forgot. When there is an encampment cleanup, it's the Department of Sanitation, it's the police,
Correct.
It's the Health Department,
Yes.
It's your office, and it's also offices that deal with potentially volatile situations.
Yes, MCIU.
MCIU, thank you.
Absolutely.
People don't understand sometimes the cost, and people don't understand the fact that the city hasn't ignored this issue.
No.
We had massive homeless encampments on Claiborne, massive homeless encampments on Chapatulas, massive encampments along Pontchartrain Expressway.
Yep.
Even cleaned up the encampment that was near Costco.
Yes.
Right. That's tremendous work. That involves a lot of work. I want to thank you for the work that you do and others. And I do want to say this. This is the last thing that I'm going to say. It's important because I'm going back to the state. We cleaned up an encampment near Carrollton Avenue, right, near Costco's, that is on state-owned property. Everything under Chapatulas is state-owned property.
Well,
The interstate,
Yes.
yes?
But the state was there, and Rachel.
But we did the
from
work.
the Health Department helped us coordinate that effort. So I can't say that it was all city, but it was definitely.
Oh, you know, it was the Department of Sanitation, and it was the police, and the like. But I want to thank the state for what they do. I'm just asking that there be a more rational and more deliberate discussion relative to what we can do to work together to address
Absolutely.
this very, very significant issue.
Yes, sir.
And tonight, there are rooms available at the Ozanam Inn for the person who is on that property at Gentilly and Press. We've called, we've checked. he has an option. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You have any comment cards? Any online comments? You want to speak? And once you finish, just fill out a card. Yes, please. Yes.
Well, thank you, Councilman King, for holding the meeting. And
Bring the mic down a bit.
is that better?
Yes.
I was just saying thank you for having the meeting. I know we chatted briefly the other night, but we have heard quite a lot of comments from business owners and from landlords and agencies. I'm a resident. I live on the 800 block of Marigny, just about 2 blocks from Frenchman. And you've got Robert's on the corner there and Legion Fields, just to give you a sense of where I am. I've been there a number of years. I have lived in New Orleans in the 90s, which was, you know, not a time of great prosperity either. I've also lived in London. I know what homelessness looks like. I'm not nervous about it. It's not something that I don't expect in a city. But what I've come to see in the last few years has really brought me and my family to our knees. We have 2 young children who were going to school in the French Quarter in a public school. We used to walk there, and what they saw on a daily basis, and they also lived in London, so they are not snowflakes. They are used to seeing city life. They had to encounter people using there just outside of the Homer Plessy site, which is now the French school, urinating. They had people shouting at them. They had needles on the streets. They had people scarcely clothed who would just make very, very strange and inappropriate comments. And I'm not just saying this was now and then, this was at least every other day. And we used to walk because that was the way that we wanted our children to be, you know, healthy part of the community. We had to pull them out of that school. We now send them to a public school uptown, which obviously is a cost on us and our time. That's fine, that's what you do as a parent. But what we have continued to see in the last, it's pretty much since the Super Bowl and since the sweeps, was people in our street. Everything that we've heard about from the business owners is happening actually on our street. And while businesses are very important, they're the lifeblood of New Orleans, also residents are having to put up with this, and residents don't feel like they can do anything. Now, on my block, it's full-time residents. It's not people who've got Airbnbs or people who have weekend places in the French Quarter. These are day in, day out residents who are going to work, raising families, getting kids to school, going to work. And every single day, and I mean every single day, there are people on my street with needles. I'm probably a bit of an outlier because I walk a lot, but what I'm seeing now, and I would say I see this 3 to 4 times a week because I started keeping notes, is actual needles going into people's arms. So we all know that they're doing it, and we can see the needles, and we can see the state that they're in. But when I actually see a human being plunging a needle into their arm within a 5-minute radius of my house, something is wrong. Something is wrong. And it's not now and then, it's all the time. My kids are 8 and 12.
If you could wrap up about 20
Yes,
more seconds.
I will, but I just feel very passionate. This is my only time to speak. My kids are 8 and 12, and they cannot walk to the store that is a block. Robert's is 1 block from our house. So while everyone doesn't want it to be on their property and doesn't want it to be on their business, and there's sirens and there's things, all the people are getting pushed out of the French Quarter and into a highly residential area with kids and families. And I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what it's like as a resident who doesn't feel like they have much of a voice. But it's not a way to live. And just one other thing, we can now no longer cycle on Crescent Park because of the issues that you talked about in Crescent Park, so the kids have got nowhere to ride their bike. And then last week, and this is my last point, council member, my husband was getting up to take the kids to school, and we were also broken into. He found a pile of clothes, a little bag, and some needles, and someone had defecated in our garden, on our porch. So we have a porch and there's a gate. So they've come in the gate, they've taken their clothes off, they've defecated, and they've left their needles. And my kids had to see that at 7:30 in the morning. And it's something's broken somewhere, and everyone's trying very hard, but something's not working.
Well,
Thank you.
Before you leave, if you can, I'm not sure that's the 8th or the 5th. It's the 5th. We're going to have a 5th district officer come and speak to you so you get some more.
I would never dream of calling the police. I don't want to waste your resources.
We don't want to arrest anyone, but
Yeah.
your kids can't see that every day. It's
I just don't want to waste the police's time, which is why I haven't called, but I'm at breaking point now. Thank you.
If you speak to Ms. Hunter, she's right there behind you, and she'll get your information. Ma'am, you are absolutely correct. I live in Gentilly Ridge, the Gentilly area off of Chef. I see the same exact things. I've experienced the same exact things. I had a gentleman living in an abandoned house right next to my house for several months, and we worked with him until we eventually got him assistance. We don't know about every single situation, but if you bring it to our attention, I guarantee you I'll get somebody out there to find out how we can assist you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, one more thing real fast. I also want to thank you for the work that you did to remove an individual from a car at the corner of Drew and Louisa. You just don't know how much the community appreciates that. They saw him doing the things that were bad, pouring his bodily waste outside of the car, living in a car. And when the police went there, I also applaud the members of New Orleans Police Department because he was violent. And the 3rd District handled it very well. You didn't see it on the front page of any paper. It wasn't a television show created by it, but an individual who was in despair, if you will, in a bad situation, but reacted to it the wrong way, was living in a car. Children couldn't walk home from school on that side of the street. But your office and the members of the New Orleans Police Department and the Health Department conducted 2 operations to move him that didn't get a lot of publicity. Members of the media didn't get a lot of publicity because it was done right. So I want to thank you and the members of the New Orleans Police Department, the Health Department, and the like for the work that you did helping that individual get to a better place in the best way possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Williamson. And after Pastor Williamson, we will bring up the Orleans Parish School Board.
Good morning. So I live at 5931 Congress Drive. That's in Pontchartrain Park. And I want to add to what Councilman Green has said, and I'm so glad that you guys have jumped on top of what's happening over at Walgreens, because it's not just that individual, but there's some prostitution going on over there as well. It's a whole encampment, it's a whole thing. And I live down the street as well, right? And yeah, we do put a whole lot into our communities, and we do want to feel safe. And I think as soon as we can cut things off, the better, that we get to it. So I just wanted to add to what Councilman Green was saying for the Pontchartrain Park area and that Walgreens situation that's about to get totally out of control and scaring people off. Because we frequent that area a lot. Walgreens, Walmart's across the street, the gas station is on one corner. You get to the interstate from there. It's a well-used area. And what's happening right there, as Councilman Green has said, is right visible to all of us who drive that thoroughfare pretty much every day. So please, do what you can, the best that you can to get that situation squared away. I have a heart for the homeless. I'm a veteran. As you can see, I'm retired. I'm a chaplain, retired. I work at the VA with homeless veterans. And it's a thing out there. We want to do the best that we can to take care of people, right? But we need them to respect our properties in life as well, right? So thank you for the work that you have been doing. Thank you, councilmen, for bringing this thing to the light. And please continue to do the hard work that you guys have been doing. Thank you.
Well, I misspoke. We have a couple of comment cards that I did not have. We're going to have Ms. Hunter and then Mrs. Poirier come up and speak on the mic. Ms. Hunter.
Good morning, and thank everyone for inviting us to come and talk about the services that is so greatly needed in the community. We are out there. Thank you, Captain Colombo, and each one of you. I'm with the officers daily. Green, I have seen you come out there. Councilman King, thank you. Every area district, we are in every district as it relates to homeless services. We're there, Nate and I, from morning to night. Even when we're off, we're out there. There's so many, there are people who have HIV/AIDS. There are people who go get chemo, go back and go lay back under the bridge. There are women who have had their fresh teeth kicked out their mouth, just being homeless on the street, babies, people living in cars. So it's definitely a need for our services. Every 311 call come through, we're addressing it. Nate say, let's go. We're out there. As soon as we don't even sit down in the morning, we're straight out the door. And the resources and referrals, I'm the resource guru. So I'm trying to connect everybody, as many people as I can. So many requests are coming in till I can hardly keep up because there's so many requests coming in. Yes, there are other people from different parishes. I have 4 people with no legs or one leg, elderly people with wheelchairs who are defecating on themselves, going to the sidewalk that people are passing by every day. I have my team out right now with a lady 80 years old who's been stuck in the doorway. So, you know, our services are definitely needed. We definitely need the resources. We definitely need for, you know, City Council to really help us to combat what's going on in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter, and I want to thank you, but now personal with you in the street, so thank you for your help. We're going to have Mrs. Poirier. Mrs. Poirier, we want to get you at the table with the other businesses and residents, but thank you for coming nonetheless, so you have the mic.
Thank you for having me. I'm Shawanda Poirier, and I'm co-owner with my husband of Poirier's Embroidery. We have a location on 3725 MacArthur Boulevard in Algiers, and we also have a location on 3401 Tulane Avenue. The homeless problem has really been significant to our business. We've had from the homeless taking the window out of our new constructed building to vandalize our store. We've had people to defecate in our alleyway, in our parking lot. They sleep in our parking lots. We've had prostitution on our Tulane Avenue location. We originally was in the strip mall there on General de Gaulle. We moved from that location diagonally across the street, thinking that we would move to a better spot, but significantly challenges have faced us there at MacArthur. We're currently moving our Tulane location to Broad, and in hopes that we will have a better experience. It's just been a significant challenge to us with all of the rising costs in everything to do business. It's just been a challenge for us to try to, from people coming in and swiping our merchandise out of the store and running out. So I just ask that you please, I live in Algiers, and I've seen a significant increase of homelessness, begging at every street corner, from Holiday to Cable to Shirley Drive. It's just been really a challenge for all business owners, in particularly our Algiers location. We were pretty much kind of accustomed to it on the Tulane location, but the Algiers location has just exploded in the last 4 to 5 years. I've emailed, you guys have come out and tried to help us as much as you can. So I'm just asking that any tools or resources that are available to us, please help us, because we are struggling as business owners to keep our business afloat because of the increased costs to the homeless problem. And it's just, you know, the bank, the strip mall behind us, Cigarette Express is definitely a challenge. It's the center of what's going on. The Sunco, when the Brothers closed and the Sunco opened up, we're happy right now because they don't have a liquor license. And so the people are not hanging out in front of the gas station. So I am eagerly watching for the neighborhood participation card to come through for Sunco, because I am going to be there to fight it, because I don't want them to have a liquor license, because wherever there's liquor being sold, they hang out. They were sleeping. I just can't even imagine someone sleeping in a garbage disposal area where they would go shoot up. They had mattresses. They had all their clothes on the side of right in front of our building. So people literally had to cross over them to enter into our store. So anything that I could do, I'm willing to assist, but we do need help. And I'm speaking for my business, but I know that every other business in that area is struggling as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Poirier. Any other comments, questions, concerns? None? Well, I appreciate y'all and y'all time. Thank you. And we will continue to work together to help those in need. and to help our residents and businesses. Thank you. I'm gonna go with who next? Okay, we're gonna do a little pivot and do, go to item number 5 with the Gall Manor. We have some department heads who need to get back to running the city. So school board, y'all can bear with us for just a minute longer. We're gonna go with, item number 5. So we're gonna have the CAO's office come up with code enforcement and the finance department as well. Thank you. All right, everyone, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for your patience. Try to get through this as soon as possible. So we're here to discuss the demolition of the Gall Manor and the funds that may or may not be available to pay those who worked up to this point and to continue with the demolition. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Robert Wolf in the audience. That's the company that is contracted to do the demolition of the Gall Manor. So thank you all for your patience as well. So we'll just jump right into it with the finance department. If you can, whoever wants to speak first, just introduce yourself and let's get the ball rolling.
Finance isn't down here.
Okay. Mr. Large.
Yes, good morning, Brandy DeLarge, Assistant CAO of the CAO's office.
Okay.
Good morning, Austin Wiltie, Deputy CAO, Business and External Services.
Good morning, Anthony Davis, Director, Department of Code Enforcement.
All right, so I'll just ask a question. Where are we as it relates to the funds available to first pay for the work that we contracted with Wolf Construction as it relates to asbestos removal of the Gall Manor?
So, yeah, well, I wasn't in the meeting on Friday, but I did receive an email from Finance noting that fiscal from council, along with your office, we're going to be consulting about use of funds from council's budget to pay the outstanding balance. And that was Friday. I received that at 6:23. And then I believe Mr. Tony requested available balances, and that was sent to him this morning. So that's the update that I have. So I'm not sure if you all have communicated with fiscal office. Do we have an update from there?
I haven't personally communicated with fiscal office. So it was being asked, and Councilmember Green, I want to catch you up to speed. I was hoping some of my other colleagues would be here because the fiscal office identified funds that can be used to demolish, or to begin to demolish, one, and to repay for work already done on the Gall Manor, which has been ongoing for decades, it seems like. But those funds would have to come from, or being suggested to come from, the council's budget, correct?
I think that was a recommendation by the finance department. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that, okay. And we weren't told how we supposed to access the funds to move that money around to have this demolition and asbestos remediation paid for. And two, it seems to be a bit out of the ordinary to have the council's budget pay for a project contracted through the city of New Orleans. And
I
there
would
was
agree. I think we're also in a different situation here because there was no budget appropriation for this project. We're also, at this point, I know we've been talking about it for a couple of months now. I do realize that in December, where will we access funding from, right? A budget space. So the cash, I think finance has established that on the back end, once we get a purchase order set up, I think when we spoke to Ms. Frida, that we'll be able to make the payment. So the payment part is the the place was the budget space for us to be able to make that purchase order. Because originally we had both as a concern. But Frida, the last call I attended, seemed as though we would be able to pay definitely the outstanding. And her question was, would the remaining work be finished by December 31st? If so, then she wanted us to do a purchase order for the entire amount to have that come out of the budget for this year.
So why, you said there wasn't, what wasn't done? I'm with the words.
There's not a budget appropriation like this. There's no line item in the budget for 2026 for the Gall Manor.
Okay, so how much money in other parts of the other departments did you all found? Like the money was found for the city council. How much other money was found in other departments?
Yeah, I didn't search other departments. That was a recommendation from finance on that last meeting for that.
Count.
Yes.
So I know that something was sent this morning with the information you're asking about, though.
Councilman Green?
Well, what I'm going to say seems negative, but that sounds like a cynical request that the council pay for demolition. As much as I support and work with Councilman King on that, I'm trying to work so that we reestablish a cultural and recreation fund that funds hundreds of organizations that do very positive work in our city. I think that that's extraordinary that the finance department would request that the council use its money for a capital project. A demolition is a capital project in some respects. I guess maybe not. Maybe
This
not.
one doesn't
It's not a
qualify under
project.
capital funding. If
Yeah,
it did,
never
it would be
mind.
a much simpler solution, right?
Yeah,
It does come out of the regular general fund pot, yes.
Yeah, never mind. It's not. It's just. It almost seems that it should be because it's involving reduction of capital investment. But that's just another story. I mean, I hope that some other way can be found because Councilman King, I'm pushing for the Culture and Recreation Fund. It would have to come from that. That's the council's budget.
Well, those are two separate, so they're both part of the budget, right? So
Yes.
I believe that the recommendation from finance came from Fund 1000, not the fund where the cultural fund sits.
What does Fund 1000 cover?
The normal general fund, right? The main general fund.
I know, but that's personnel in one.
That is for other operating. We're not talking about personnel dollars. It's other
How much do we have in that operating now?
A little over $2 million.
So how much would the demolition be?
I don't know what the total is, but the amount that's outstanding is $1.1 million.
So that would leave us with 900,000 spread out over the budget.
Well, through the end of this year. That is an impact in 2026.
Oh, then I'm confused from what I read then. So maybe I should ask for an explanation.
No, go ahead. I want you to.
Is the money there
You
now?
may have maybe other questions that.
Are you
we
saying that the
ask.
money's going to be unspent between
Correct.
now and the end of the year?
Correct.
Oh, well, that's not what I was told, to be very honest with you.
So the money.
Take off the table everything that I've heard, and that's the problem with coming to a meeting and only having had a discussion and a verbal discussion relative to the matter. So I take everything that I said off the table, because Councilman King, if it's possible to make that happen, I understand the importance of the Gall Manor. If it's going to be money that's going to be unspent, it's not going to impact us, we're not going to be able to not move forward, then I'm open to consideration. So,
And to your
Councilman
point-
King, I look to you and say, take off the table what I just said, because I was told on Friday that we were talking about looking at money from the budget for next year.
Well, I don't know. So again, I missed the meeting on Friday. I had a different meeting. So right now, I know we owe the vendor $1,154,700.
Right.
And one email from Mr. Davis that we received was that there was no other work that will be completed. Councilmember King came back and said he's talked to the vendor. There may be more work completed by the end of the year. There was a 3 o'clock call on Friday. The team can weigh in, or Councilmember King. But right now, we do owe the vendor outstanding money of the amount that I just quoted. Should the vendor be able to complete the full project by the end of the year, I think that's like $1.8 some odd million. So it'd be another $700K we would need in order to pay the vendor.
So why, if you can answer, if anyone can answer, why wasn't the funds appropriated when the contract started? Or when the contract was signed?
The initial contract started in 2024, and there was funds appropriated. Per the city charter, at the end of every fiscal year, those funds go away. The money does not automatically roll over to the next year. My other understanding is also that the contract for this routed and the funding was encumbered after the budget was adopted last year. And so by that time, we were not able to just make an amendment or include it with the amendments for last year's budget. I don't have all the details on maybe what conversations took place in January or February with my prior boss regarding this project, but I know that my office never received a request to route a budget ordinance to place a line item appropriation for this in the budget.
Okay. So what would be the mechanism used to access these funds?
Well, we need a purchase order. So we have to get a purchase order through our BRAS system setup, which triggers finance system to take the invoice in to process the payment.
So let me just ask, is this something that's appropriate to take money from the councils? Okay, so the administration contracted this work to be done. For whatever reason, the monies wasn't there, the monies wasn't paid to the contractor. Now the administration is saying, hey, city council, you will have a pocket of money. We want you to pay for this project that we contracted and were supposed to pay for. Is that essentially what's being asked?
Yeah, so I can't speak on behalf of someone who made that request. So that's what it sounds like.
Okay,
but yes.
okay. And is that
And I think that they identified budget space. So right now, in order for us to know, like for example, let me give you an example. So if you look at the budget to actual report for CAO, it says there's a certain amount outstanding, but that money is not all available right now. I'm waiting on information from our benefits team to determine how much we still are short on the purchase order to pay for employee benefits for the rest of the year. This morning, I also authorized a purchase order for $50,000 to get set up for the CAO's office to process invoices for the LLA. So just immediately that changed. Without us knowing last-minute situations in departments, we don't know what a department actually has available for use.
Okay.
Because I did first look at our budget, the one that we control, and we still have some outstanding things, more so tied to pertinent needs like the employee benefits.
And you say, that's the CAO's budget?
Correct, yes.
Do you think
That's the place that I looked at first, is what I'm saying, the one that I oversee. With
So
the
if
CAO.
there's, yes, ma'am. So if there's the available funding in the CAO's budget, could that money be used for this project?
Yes, but I don't have an update.
We don't know.
Right
Right,
now,
I'm
yes. Yeah, some of that money could be, yes, it could be.
Okay, Mr. Wolf, if we can get, or you or Mr. Simon, if we can get you at the podium, because there may be some back and forth, we need you all. At the podium now, Mr. Wiltie, Mr. Davis, any comments at this point? No, sir. Okay. So, Mr. Wolf, when did you all first start the asbestos remediation?
I'll let Mr. Simon answer
Yeah, I
that.
believe that was, it was the beginning of October, I believe.
Okay. And how much is needed? I mean, how much work have you done?
We've done 90% of that work, resulting in the amount that was, that we've sent invoices for. And so that's what we've completed to date.
What's okay. All right. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
We've completed that 1.154 million, and that's what we've completed to date. There is some more work that we could complete this year if requested, but we would need approval to move forward with that.
And how much time would you need? So let me ask you this: how much can get done by the end of the year? Because that's the money has to be spent by then, correct? How much can you all?
The work would have to be completed by that date, so the
completed.
payment can still take place in January using the same 2025 budget.
Sure.
Mr. Work.
How much, thank you for that clarification. I want to misspeak on that. How much work can be completed by the end of the year on DeGaulle Manor?
We believe we should be able to complete the remainder of the abatement, which is, I believe, about 128,000. And then there's a potential for us to be able to begin demolition and possibly finish demolition of the smallest building. Like I said, that would also depend on us really getting approval for us to do that this week.
You would need approval this week.
In order for us to be able to really knock down the entire building before the end of the, end of the month.
So would you?
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
If you all got approval this week, the entire project will be done, or is it just portions? I'm trying to get the total dollar amount. Would it be the whole 1.8 that was approval provided this week?
The 1.8 that was spoken about was something that we were asked in September, what could we get done before the end of the year? At this point where we've done the abatement, we haven't done that demolition. We were just kind of waiting on approval to move forward with that. And really proof of funds being available to pay for that. At that point, we kind of haven't begun that demolition. So then when we were asked last week to say, how much can you complete? Well, I can't complete 3 months of work in 1 month on the demolition. So we can complete a small portion of that one,
What is the amount she's asking if
I
you
don't
do the
have,
small building?
so I'm trying to get that exact amount because now we're just talking about just doing this one thing, but it's somewhere around 200,000. So it'd be a total of somewhere around 350 total with the completion of the abatement and the single
So
building.
that total would be approximately?
About additional 350?
No, how much total, the total contract is what she's asking for. You want two
You said it would be
there.
350 on top of the 1.1?
It'd be another 200 on top of the 1.1, yes.
So
Or 1.350, something.
money already owed for work done, because we want to pay the people for the work that they've done, plus the possible start and completion of one of the smallest buildings on DeGaulle Manor would be roughly $1.3 million. What you're saying?
For what we've completed up until the end of the year, yes, for this contract.
Yeah. Okay. And Mr. Large, I know you wasn't involved in the conversations. There seems to be a bit of unreadiness and hesitation to take that money from the council's budget for the reasons I outlined earlier. How soon do you think we're able to find out if the CAO's remaining budget for 2025 can cover that $1.3 million request?
I only spoke to our benefits team on the end of last week, so I'm waiting on updates from them. That'll give me an idea for that. I already checked with EMD and they were good with gas and supplies. So that's normally the two areas we check at the end of the year to move money around from other areas in CAO to pay those expenses. So I'm just waiting on that office.
Okay. All right. Mr. Volte, anything? No. Mr. Wolf, Mr. Simon, any other comments?
The only thing, we're just reluctant until we know that those funds are there and that we can be paid. You know, the problem is we have some DEB contractors here and they can't, you know, it's a pay when paid. We don't pay them unless we get paid. And so they don't have the ability to hold these, you know, funds in an accounts receivable situation. They need to get funded.
So we're gonna, I would hope that we would have a recommendation, in the next couple of days, especially knowing that finance indicated to us that once we get the PO set up, they'll be able to process the invoice based upon the original date that we had, that we knew the invoice was available, not like
Yes.
with the net 30 and net 45, so we'll be able to prioritize that. So
Yes, ma'am.
And let me ask this question. Maybe it's been asked already. When we agreed in September to do the 1.8 worth of work, where was that money then, and where is it now?
So the funding at that time under the previous CAO was approved to come from a budget allocation that was in the mayor's office in Fund 1183.
Okay.
So I can't speak about what happened, about why the PO was not set up, right? What's happened since that time is the budget overall has been reduced by $30 million. And so when our office went to streamline that, we pulled from those Fund 1183 places first. So we didn't pull from the council, that's what the cultural fund is, but there was about 20 million that was sitting in economic development is the area we pull from, law, and some from health. So those areas, that money came back. So that money has actually been de-appropriated out the budget. We already have an approved ordinance, so that money came out the budget.
So the previous CAO basically wrote a check that the city didn't have enough money to cash.
Well, at the time, right, so my office wouldn't have known as they're processing that request for the budget ordinance that the purchase order was not set up, right? So ideally, if the purchase order had been set up when the approval was made, when we went to do that budget ordinance, that money would have already been encumbered. It
Walk
wouldn't
us
have been
through
part
this,
of the
Mr.
money.
Large. And I'm asking because we all want to get caught up to speed. Who's responsible for sending out the purchase order?
Normally, it is the department, and in this case, it would have been code enforcement. However, the funding was not in code enforcement's budget, so they wouldn't have had access to set up the purchase order. Had it been in Mr. Davis's budget, it likely would have been set up, but his team doesn't have access to the budget in another area.
So in this situation, who was responsible for it?
It would have been a request from the department to someone who had access to either the mayor's office code or someone in CAO who has access to the code.
Okay, so Mr. Davis, can you explain who should have set up the request of the purchase office? Who should have set up the purchase order?
Thanks, Councilman King. You know, as I've stated from day one since we've began that the Department of Code Enforcement didn't have internal funding to pay for this project. We've constantly kept the CAO's office up to date on where we are when things was happening because we knew that that's where the money was. It wasn't resident in the Department of Code Enforcement. All money that was resident in the Department of Code Enforcement, proper POs was done, vendors was paid on time, and we didn't have any issues. And so that's where we stand. I can't create a PO for something where something doesn't exist. And so I duly informed the CAO's office every single time something like that occurred and saying, hey, vendor needs payment, vendor needs this. I'm forwarding to the CAO's office for action because I do not have it internally within the department.
And look, I appreciate that from everyone, but not trying to point the finger. I just want to get clarity.
Yes,
we
sir.
have vendors who are small. You said DBEs or disadvantaged, small minority businesses who are not paid, who are needing their funds. And we need to pay them as well as show the people of this city and of Algiers when the city makes a promise, they follow through with it. So the Galt Manor has been stopped and started and started and stopped for almost 2 years, and it's looking just as bad as it was when it started. And that's not just for Algiers. I'm sure we can point out spots in Gentilly, in the east, all over the city where people have been made promises, the work has not been done, and the residents come to us and saying, hey, what's going on? And you can see it right now, it's a bit confusing. Where the money was at, who was responsible. So we're trying to come to a conclusion as to, one, where the money, who was responsible, where was the money, and moving forward, can Mr. Wolf and his DBEs, subcontractors get paid, and what can we get done? Because I'm gonna ask Mr. Raver to come up and just explain how much of a mess the Galt Manor looks for those who are not familiar with this area. People have to live and drive by. Mr. Raver, can you come up for a quick second? You're in that area every day. Maybe we should hear from somebody who is boots on the ground, who works in that area to drive home how important it is to get the politics out of it so we can get a clean area to work, live, and play in.
Like the councilman said, it's been that way for quite a while. We get excited when we hear that's going to be torn down, and then when we don't see the action behind it, it's a little bit frustrating. It's an area, that's been a dump site as well. Overgrown trees, people dropping trash on there. So to have that area cleaned up means a lot for the LJS community. There's a little store there as well that kids got to, walk through from the community to get to that store, and they have to walk through that area. And a
nursery next to it.
Yeah, and it had a nursery as well. So it's definitely not in the ideal place. And again, we were all excited and looking forward to it being torn down to make our community not only safer, but look beautiful and what our community definitely deserves. So it's definitely kind of heartbreaking to find out that this project is being prolonged and it's not happening when we were definitely looking forward to it taking place.
Well, I appreciate it, and I think we're going to get this moving forward. The current owner is trying to present a responsible buyer and a responsible project, but at the same time, we can't wait for another 10 years because we know how that looks. We continue to wait, so we're going to try to get as much knocked down as we can, have the current owner be responsible for that, and if and when that property is sold, those liens to be satisfied, but we got to get this done.
So what I
Mr.
want
Large,
to ask on the record now then, because I don't want to be back in the same spot in December or February next year, right? So if we are able to locate the funding and get a purchase order set up and get the vendor paid for what we know is outstanding, and then what they're saying can be completed by the end of the year, about 1.3, a little bit under 1.4, that still does not complete the project. And so right now, I am not familiar with the 2026 budget where a line item would be to complete this project. So we would still be having the same conversation. Like we can get the vendors resolved, right, get that process done. But then the other piece, it seems like the demolition will not be all fully completed or the work is not going to be completed. So we would still have the same situation at some point in 2026.
we will still have remaining properties on DeGaulle Manor still up. I don't know how much that would cost. I don't know how much the city could afford to pay the vendor. But this has been promised for 2 years now. So a lot more could have been done had, and I'm not pointing fingers, the CAO's office, or whoever is responsible, make sure everything was how it should be. I think it goes a long way to show the public that, yes, it's all not down, but the city council and administration, they're keeping their word of making it look presentable to the Algiers community. And it also shows the owner, who quite frankly has been dragging his feet and trying to present a proper or a responsible, respectable project, that we're not playing around. We're going to tear it down unless you could present something to the Algiers community that they are happy to have. And if you can't, then it's going to be torn down at the owner's expense. So we may be here looking for more money to either do more demolition, or the owner may say, you know what, the new administration, the council isn't playing. We got to sell this and put this in the hands of somebody who's responsible.
I just wanted to make sure, because we're in the midst of a transition, so I don't have that information. I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware of that even if this is done, we will still have outstanding work that needs to be completed for that project.
Okay, so you said you're not responsible, but would the CEO office not be responsible for something that they obligated themselves to this year?
So a contract, we've had, so I can just put it out there. I see you speaking to the council member, and I've already stated this multiple times. We can pull the contract language, so you can obligate, the city can obligate, but just like that we heard with ARPA contracts, there's other work. Work can be canceled and paused for convenience and non-appropriation of funds. In this case, there was not appropriation of funds, so at some point the work could have been paused. I know I have email communication before this got to $1.1 million. I recommended the project be paused. CFO recommended the same thing, and so did Austin, but someone authorized work beyond that time frame there. So the city can pull back on any contract if needed to be.
And I guess if I could, real quick, so I know when we were presenting before budget, we were talking about $600,000 per month. And, beginning on October 1st, so $600,000 in October, I think everybody was on the same page. It was in the contract. When we got the first invoice for $900,000, we were told that the contractor had accelerated with asbestos abatement. In most cases, I would say that's a great thing, with roadwork construction, for instance, when they accelerate and they get the work done faster, that's a good thing for the city and for the public. In this case, given the financial situation we were under, it put us in a little bit of a bind. Fortunately, the contractor, reached out on October 31st and said, we're not going to mobilize for demolition because we're following the news, at which time Mr. Large responded and said, I think that makes sense, given where we're at. We're already over the $600,000 not to mobilize for demolition because we don't want to incur any delay claims. So that's still kind of where at least I'm at in terms of if we mobilize for the demolition of one building, is the city opening itself up to any exposure if we can't find money in the 26 budget to be able to complete the remaining 11?
Okay, can you, Mr. Wilson, you said you don't want the city to be, well, Mr. Wolf, I see you coming.
Right, what I was just saying, we're not gonna push forward and jam the city. I mean, if the contract has to be put on pause, and as long as we're, both able to look at it down the road, if funds are found in 2026 and our costs have not increased and we can move forward, we would certainly do that because we realize how long this has gone on. But I don't think we would try to hold the city to do the rest of the demolition if there was no funds found.
Okay.
We appreciate the efforts being made to, get us straight on what was done at this point, but
Mr. Wilson?
so if it helps you to kind of negotiate with the owner to get one building down, we're prepared to get started with that, but we need to do it this week. Otherwise, I don't think we can make that happen.
Understood, and I appreciate that, Mr. Wolf and Mr. Simon, they have been communicative on that point. I think just looking at the schedule that's attached to the settlement, you can see that the demolition of the first building does cost more than the demolition of the next two buildings that's in that schedule. So are you able to explain the mobilization cost that's tied to that first demolition, just so we can understand if there's going to be demob or mobilization cost if we aren't able to move forward beyond that one building?
The pricing on the building, this is Mike Simon. The pricing on the building wasn't higher due to mobilization. The pricing on the first building was due to the square footage and the size of that building. And so obviously more trucks taken out, more debris taken out, more time to do it. I believe the second building was a smaller building, and so we were saying we could kind of swap those and just do that small building just because the size of it is less time and less money. In the event that we would have to go and do one building, mobilize to do one building, and then demobilize and then remobilize to do the other 11, there potentially is additional cost for that remobilization. If we were to go and do them all at the same time, then obviously that would be the most cost-effective way to do it. But we're willing to do whatever we need to do to help out the process.
And I appreciate that. Thank you for making that clear. That's the point I was trying to get across.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Mr. Wolf, Mr. Simon, Mr. Ravy? All right, here now we're going to,
Councilman?
yes, I'm sorry.
I think that
Councilman.
it's fair to say that the city council, when they allocate money, are expecting that the purchase orders, the stop work orders, and everything that's necessary to be done is being done, because I don't have access to that daily information. And when people look back at the budget deficits and the like, it's important to recognize that thousands of transactions take place each month in our city of New Orleans, whether it be a purchase order, whether it be stop work orders and the like. We can't track, and it's not even really the job of the council to track every minutia of every activity that takes place. We have to rely on the persons who are in place to inform us of what we need to know. If it was determined that sometime that there should have been a stop work order in place because the money was taken out of the budget, I'm not so sure that it's the council's responsibility or Councilman King's responsibility to run out to the job site and say, stop work order. We rely on some common sense, but also some motivated work on the administration side to let us know what needs to be done.
I agree with you,
100%
Councilor.
agree.
But this funding was never appropriated or allocated
Well,
by the council in the
and-
budget. So I want to make sure we make that
Right,
clear.
which-
That's why we're in like a,
Well, but
we're
at some-
trying to have a solution to get this rectified.
At some time, someone knew when a contract was executed that the money was not allocated. So maybe I'm using the word stop order. Maybe there should have been never an order to proceed. Am I correct?
I would
So-
agree with that.
Right, but why would we know? Why would I know? Why would I be involved with the daily minutia of what goes on in the CAO's office that has 100 people working in it, whereas I have 5 people working in my office? That's just something that I think over time we'll be able to correct, especially this challenge has presented us with some opportunity, but we ask for more as we move forward.
I 100% agree with you, council member. I think what I've tried to encourage is that Director Davis be the direct line of communication with the contractor. I think what I'm seeing just from, being able to look at this kind of in hindsight now is that everybody wants this project done and wants, you know, a little bit of the project done if we can get a little bit done. But when things move beyond what's in the contract, it makes things tough. My experience is with the law department and the contracts team. Sometimes people would try to expedite things outside of the brass system. My experience is that sometimes that creates more of a lag, right? And so if you just work within the system and what's in the contract, I generally find that things move faster and everybody can stay informed.
You know that you mentioned a very troubling scenario. That work is sometimes done outside of the brass system.
And that's been fixed by the city council, actually.
Yes.
I think it's 7011 that all contracts now are published. So y'all did fix that. I'm just saying, going back to 2018, sometimes that was an issue. I believe the council has rectified that problem. I was just trying to give an example from my experience.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And we don't want to belabor this any longer because thank you for our school board team who's been very patient. But you're all educators, so you're used to being patient. What's the next step moving forward? So we can all put a nice
I'm going to
bond
speak
in.
on 2025.
Yes.
So I'm going to work to determine where and if where there can be a purchase order issued for this week.
Okay.
And so then, once that purchase order is issued, the vendor can upload the invoice and finance already shared, they can process the payment.
And we want to see if there's funds that can come out of somewhere other than the city councils.
I'm going to look in a few places. So let me say, what I don't have time to is to call every department.
Okay.
So I have to look in my department where I have access to. right? So
That's with me in the CAO's office.
Correct,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Okay. Well, thank y'all. I appreciate your time and your patience. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next and final is the school board. Got a lot to chew on, huh, Mr. Patterson? Got a lot of information to publish now? Councilman Green wants you to publish that information. All right. We're going to make this short as possible. This is a discussion. We won't vote. It's just a discussion only. We'll bring this before the full council next meeting. Mr. There's some handouts?
You good?
We have a comment call from Mr. Brian Goodwin. So far, the only public comment. When that time comes, not right now. Okay. All right, school board, introduce yourself and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, council members. Thank you, Councilman King, for accepting this request to present before your committee. And we are also extremely grateful for your continued partnership with the district. I'm here accompanied by my Chief of School Support, Dr. Kelly Jordan. Next, I have my Chief Financial Officer, Naisha Ville. I have my Chief of Staff down there, Justin McCorkle, and our lead consultant, and you know very well, Brian is here with us with Circular Consulting.
Okay.
And so we are pleased to present before you today to highlight programs that are directly supported by Harris funding. So Harris Dollars allows the Orleans Parish School Board to enhance critical services that are not fully funded through traditional revenue streams for our students. Students served by these investments are some of our most vulnerable student populations, and they have a lot of high needs. These dollars have been instrumental in providing therapeutic services, reentry programs, as well as supporting student well-being initiatives. Through these resources, we've been able to provide a continuity of services that stabilizes families, improves student outcomes, and creates safer school communities. As you know, one of our programs that we are most proud of is the Travis Hill School. And as you can see here, the mission of Travis Hill School is to provide a safe educational environment for our students that is transformative and that also develops our students' academic and social emotional needs. We have been investing in this school for quite some time, and what we've been able to demonstrate as a result is outcomes for our students. Students earn high school credits, diplomas, and certifications. More than 300 young people receive instruction or support through Travis Hill during the last school year. The school has gained national recognition in its integrated approach, and that links academic progress, mental health services, and structured transition support for our students. And so what you will see here, and we know that Councilman Green and other council members are often present at our graduations and events at the Travis Hill School. It's able to provide small class sizes that meet the students' needs, engage in curriculum, and post-release support. Most recently, the Travis Hill School was recognized by the Louisiana Department of Education for being an Opportunity Honorees Recognition School. And this recognition is awarded to a school that demonstrates exceptional growth for students who are considered the highest risk for academic disengagement. This partnership highlights transition services, and they have received an A rating for the work that they do. The reentry support has reduced recidivism through partnerships with our Office of School Support and Attendance. And we've also seen other outcomes such as coordinated reentry meetings to ensure students have stable plans for work beyond. And that includes students being enrolled at SUNO, Pearl River Community College in Delgado, and one student who is now even employed with City Council District E. So what you will see here are continued highlights of the Travis Hill School. So 42 graduates this year, 7 graduation ceremonies held, our highest composite score for ACT testers, and an exemplar rating by the Louisiana Alternative School Assessment Reviews. Continued growth and action, as you can see, additional academic outcomes in terms of how our school performance score has improved, how the school letter grade has moved from a C to a B rating. We also see growth in reading and math for our students and a higher percentage of our students who pass state assessments in English 1, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Biology. Additionally, we have citywide therapeutic programs that meets the needs of our students who are experiencing a number of needs that are provided through programs such as the Aurora program under Crescent City Schools. The Aurora program provides a dual instructional and therapeutic model for students whose needs extend beyond what traditional schools can support. That enrollment has steadily grown and student outcomes are strong. Most students who have achieved major behavior literacy and math improvement demonstrate that the model is working for families. And as you can see here, for outcome data, 63% of the students achieve 90% of their end-of-year behavior goals, and 83% of students improved in literacy, and 61% improved in math performance. Additionally, we have the Renewed Therapeutic Program, which serves students across 4 charter organizations. Students demonstrated consistent progress toward their individual goals. Instructional growth indicators show meaningful improvement for many students. Here we just have highlights of various engagements, and we continue to be grateful for the partnership with the City Council and for your involvement and continued support of NOLA Public Schools. Harris funding makes sure that these programs are possible at scale within our district and that it's meeting system-wide needs across our children in New Orleans. This investment not only supports justice-involved youth earning diplomas, but students with behavioral and mental health learning needs. Thank you again, Councilman King, and thank you to all of our council members for your continued support of New Orleans students and families. And with that, our team, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Councilman Green, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, and I do attend the Travis Hill School graduations because I'm interested in the young people, and I appreciate the work that you do. You know, it's a challenging time for the city. I mean, so at the end of the day, for example, I talked about the Recreation and Culture Fund. In my Recreation and Culture Fund allocation, there was money for Carver's, for the drama program, for McDonald 35, but it can't happen because we don't have enough money. So at the end of the day, we have to cancel our program completely. I think that there's certainly negotiation and work to be done or discussion to be done, but I want to let you know that whatever the decision of the city council is relative to the money, this is an extraordinary year. That's all. I appreciate it. I will always be at the graduation. I will be wherever I'm asked to be. I'm proud of the fact that I have so many public schools in my district, McDonald 35, Kennedy, Carver, and the like. I shouldn't say and the like, I should mention them all. The other schools in the district. But the main thing is that very supportive. Just want to let you know. And I look forward to working with you more. And look, for any school that I didn't mention, there are 9 schools, high schools in my district, and there are also 6 schools of higher education. I always point out a certain number of schools because they're the largest, but for all of those schools, it includes Hines, it includes the Rooted School, it includes, so many other schools. I appreciate the work that you all do with all of them.
Thank you, Councilman Green. We know you love them all.
One more than the others. One more than the others.
That's a private school, which will be in the championship game on Saturday. Just happened to mention that.
Just to throw that out there.
So thank y'all. Exactly how much money is in the lease agreement you're scheduled to get this year, and what is your exact ask?
So Councilman McKean, if you recall, each year we come before the body for the last several years, and I think your council physical office, which Kelvin Aguilar or his team can probably give you guys an up-to-date amount, right? That's money is collected every time a taxpayer pay their taxes. It's a percentage of millage. So every year we make the request, which this time we did in July, it was the amount that was received by the city at that time. It was over 3.7 million. However, here we are today, to Councilman Green's point, through some consultation with yourself and some of your colleagues, we understand the dire need that the council is in to redirect resources, looking at redirecting resources to support your other critical organizations as well. And so with the request that we sent on last week and what's before you today, right, the school board went back in and looked at their resources and making a request for 2.7, something of the original request. And so through conversations and through many discussions, the school board and the CFO decided to say, hey, if we can get the resources to support these 2 of many critical programs that they have with internal, that would be great.
Okay. Councilman Green, so we're not going to vote on this, but we will recommend that at the next council meeting on the 18th, that the school board receives the roughly 2.7, let me put a little asterisk by it, 2.7 of the Harris lease agreement funds.
And because I think from a formality, you didn't have a quorum and you didn't vote, it's not going to consent, so it need to go on a regular agenda then.
Okay. You all can show up if you want to, but I think everyone will be well versed by then on what you all asking for. Can't speak for everyone, but I personally think that's a fair amount to be given, and definitely all the work that Travis Hill does. And speaking of Travis Hill, Mr. Goodman, if you want to come up and make your comment. And for any media who may be listening or watching, you want to do a good story, Mr. Goodwin at the Travis Hill the Travis Hill School is a very good story that a lot of people don't know but should know, because what you're doing is really working miracles with those young men at that school. So the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Councilmember Green. I implore you guys to truly support this program that the school district is asking you to support. Us at Travis Hill, I've been doing this the last 10 years. Each year, we have raised the bar and have exceeded the bar. I don't think a lot of people know we are the only pre-adjudicated facility in the state and probably in the country that offers full accredited education to kids. One, because it's the humane thing to do, and secondly, because it's the right. Kids have the right to be educated. So we invest in our kids. The district invests in us. They give us a task to provide the right education for our kids, the right support. And doing that, this year we are a B school. We are an A when it comes to transition, which means that any kid that leaves us, whether they're going back to a community school, whether they're going to another facility, we track our kids all over the state. So I work with the State Department of Education on the DOC side, where we track our kids to see if, to get them put into high set programs, to get them put into skill set programs, so that way they're not just sitting there being an inmate per se, they're actually gaining something, so when they do come out, they have that opportunity to do something better with their lives. This year we had 3 kids who scored 25, 22, 23 on the ACT, first time. The last 3 years we've had 29, we've had 28. We got kids that are mastery on their test. And I tell folks all the time, you know, throughout the course of the year, we may service probably about 500 or 600 kids, which education is hard as it is. To employ educators, and our space is even harder because in a traditional school, you have your kids for that year. In our space, we got 600 kids that's coming in and out throughout the year. So you got to be able to employ the right educators that can deal with the transient of our population where kids are coming in and out. Most educators can't deal with that because they're used to dealing with, I got a scope, I want to work, this is my plan, this is how we get our kids to this point. In our space, we get kids coming in and out, so we got to figure out, do we start over, how we catch them up, you know, so it's just so fluent in the way that we do things. But I have a dedicated staff, fully educated, you know, we can't do nothing without the partnership of the district, can't do nothing without the partnership of the city council, and we definitely can't do nothing without our partners inside of both spaces. So Dashelle Williams, Susan Hudson, I got to go on record and say this, these last 4 years are the most graduations we've had since we've been at the jail since 2016. You know, one thing I got to say, she made sure that kids that needed to be educated was in the space to be educated. Hence, that's why our graduations went from normally 2 kids, 1 kid, we are now graduating 10 at a time, 12 at a time, 20 at a time, you know. And to be able to do that with their parents, and like Councilmember Green said, you know, and yourself coming into these graduations, 99% of our kids, when they write their graduation speeches, the first thing they said is that, I've never seen myself getting to this point. They either seen themselves locked up or dead, never seen themselves graduating. So I tell people every time when they come to our graduation, for our kids, they can care less about the paper. The fact of putting that robe on and actually being seen for their parents, and then when you talk to parents, you say, hey, I never thought my child would make it. You know, so we are truly invested in the community. We're invested in this space so much where I get phone calls from judges, from parents who want to see how they can sign their kid up to come to Travis Hill, you know, and which parents don't understand because a lot of people don't realize we're detention. You know, because of the work we do, you would think that we're a community school because, I mean, you know, no shade to community schools, but, you know, we do the work. And we with the best of them, your Lushers, your Carrs, your Ben Franklins, you know, I'll put my kids up against them any day, and we will do the work.
Thank you.
That's what it's about.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Appreciate it. So you all go before the full council on the 18th again. If you want to come in, you're more than welcome to. But I feel confident. Well, I'm going to support it. Let me say that. I'm going to support it. Councilman Green, any closing remarks?
Nope.
All right. Well, we don't have a quorum to adjourn, so thank you all for coming. Oh, I'm sorry. One last comment.
Just wanted to let you know that if yourself or your colleagues have any questions between now and December 18th meeting, just feel free to reach out to us and we'll provide anything that you guys need.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman King, what's your school, Mr. Goodwin?
All right. Okay.
Orleans Parish official statement is we for all the kids.
Look, I had a simple question. I just asked what his school was.
Duly noted.
Thank you all.
There's gonna be a whole lot of fun. You're welcome. You're welcome. A whole lot of fun Saturday. Yes, absolutely.